to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. Ooh, there you go. There's an intro for you. Happy Monday morning. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. Although it's noon back east and it's evening over there in Europe. But anyway, hope you all had an enjoyable weekend. Had an interesting broiler chicken session yesterday. I thought it was pretty positive. Lots of interaction with the audience. We'll say a little disappointed in the amount of questions and interactivity with students here this term, but all we can do is try our best. Any level oneers listening, you've got Grim, who's basically sitting there waiting to help critique your trading plans, your strategic visions, your tactical visions. I don't know whether you're quite ready to be articulating your 3 reasons to justify acting, but definitely critiquing your logging, just to make sure that you're actually doing it correctly. Make sure that your setups are at least 2-to-1 risk reward. You're clearly outlining where you're entering, where your stops are, and of course, risk management relative to the type of risk taker that you are. So for Pete's sake, people, take advantage of these resources. You paid good money for this. What the heck? And of course, I'm here. If you feel like asking the old man a question, I might bark at you, but at least I'm going to give you a straight answer. I'm not going to blow smoke up your bum. So anyway, just a general site message. You, especially current students, you have us for a limited time. Take advantage of it while you have it. It is the middle of the summer here. It does feel very summer doldrumsy kind of market here. We are right now the Monday following options expiry event. And I don't know whether you've noticed this, but pretty typical. They dump the market into the options expiry, make sure that as many calls and puts can expire worthless, especially on the big monthly options expiries. And then mysteriously, you see that the market bounces first thing Monday morning. I don't know whether the bounce is getting a hell of a lot of traction. I think it's more kind of like there was a bit of a vacuum following the big options liquidations events. And in those kind of vacuum scenarios, the market had been going down 3 or 4 or 5, 6 days, 7 days in a row. And, path of least resistance now appears to be slightly back to the upside. Suppose we'll talk a little bit about price action in a bit, but not really a big surprise. And, if you've got your journals out, you want to learn from something, this is a really good example of what usually happens the Monday morning following options expiry. Not really a big surprise. What is our itinerary for the day? I think we have it in the lower right-hand corner there for you. Always like to take a quick boo at the breadth. Actually interesting to see how breadth really came off hard there last week. And we were, ironically enough, in a sell pattern, which is kind of bizarre. This is a really screwy world, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be like this for the next probably 10, 15 years. This rally into this particular greed cycle peak that we're looking for into 2035, the corresponding cycle back last century, they called it the Nifty 50. Where there was, just a handful of stocks that actually led the whole stock market higher. And I think the exact same thing's going to happen here, that the broader economy, it's interesting to watch how the Russell 2000 is really trying to get going. Its fits and starts. And then you turn your head, and all of a sudden, boom, the tech stocks are all going crazy, and Alan's doing some latest con job du jour, trying to get your money. I suppose. Well, as long as I say Alan, then nobody really knows who the hell I'm talking about, right? So, anyway, that's the type of Monday it is. It's summer doldrums. It's post options expiry. And of course, we got some really screwy stuff going on in the sort of the broader economy, the broader framework of our society. Never a dull moment. All right, so I still think that the market's not really overly happy here. And I would expect this to persist right through the election. And I suppose we'll talk about the election in a moment. Um, Econs, I was actually a bit surprised. China actually came out and lowered interest rates overnight. I think this was half the reason why the equity markets caught a bit of a bid, especially sort of the tech related names. Although, you look at the background, it doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. I did see like news out this morning that Hong Kong inflation is actually ticking up. So, and I mean, I don't know whether it's even makes any sense to have like a central bank that is a central banker to like a billion people, because there's going to be so many different regions of that country that are going through different economic, uh, ebbs and flows, that I don't think it makes sense to have like one policy for an entire region like that. I don't even think something like the ECB makes any sense. But actually, I did hear recently, and I thought this is an interesting anecdote, that the ECB actually technically isn't a central bank. The only thing that they were designed to do was just absorb all the ridiculous government bond issuance by all these socialist countries over there in Europe. Because if they didn't have some sort of backstop to absorb all that extra paper, none of these bonds would float. There wouldn't be a market for all these silly socialist countries. And I mean, you see my country, China. I mean, it's insane what this stupid idiot leader of ours has done over the past 4 or 5 years. Like literally like 40% increase in the money supply just because of all this issuance of bad debt. And who's buying this stuff? Holy shit, what the hell is that? Can you hear that, Chris? Can you hear that banging? I don't know. You can, eh? I wonder if is there a setting on the Zoom call here where I can how the hell do I do this? I think the audio right on the microphone. Some doofus has decided to bang on the ceiling just as I'm doing this video, and probably it's intentional. Audio settings. Let's go there. And then what do we got here? Audio profile. Is that the one that I want? Which is the one that I want on here? Microphone. Yeah. Zoom background noise removal. I think that's it. Right. Anyway, so I just clicked on that. I don't know whether do I have to save this or did that make any difference? I don't know whether you can hear that or not. Anyway, if you can still hear that hammering in the background, just let me know, okay? All right. Well, hopefully that deals with that. Never a dull moment living in China, that's for sure. I probably got fucking Winnie the Pooh living right above me. And I'm almost about to yell, shut the fuck up. Jesus Christ. All right, so let's see what we got here. Where are we on our itinerary? So China Fed, I don't know, China Fed, I guess that's what you call it. Lowered rates. I think that injected a bit of stimulus into the market this morning. Like I said, the tech stocks seem to like that. But the interesting thing is when we come back and actually we look at the actually I think probably the headlines here is probably the best one I want. You notice that the Asian markets down, Japan down. So that didn't really help Japan that much. I'm actually a little surprised. And like I said, I think this has more to do with the options expiry than anything else. Um, Interesting to see Europe really enjoying a rally here today. And I don't even really see any econs to justify that. Doesn't really make a heck of a lot of sense. And I also saw that natural gas prices were moving higher, which I would have thought would have made the Europeans a little less happy. So it's kind of scratching my head a little bit on that one. But anyway, maybe summer doldrumsy type market. Can you hear that, Chris, now? Hello, Chris. Oh, maybe I can't hear Chris anymore. Are you there, Chris? Did I lose Chris? Still hear it a bit, eh? Let's see. Zoom background noise removal, background noise suppression. Let's maybe there's auto, low, medium, and high. Should we go with high maybe? Let's see if that gets rid of it. Does that help at all? Anyway, if you could let me know whether you hear that hammering anymore, appreciate it. You cannot hear it? All right, that's good. All right, so we just got the doofus there hammering away, but as long as you can't hear it, then that's good. Okay, so as I said, a little surprising to see that Europe is catching a bit of a bid here today. Not quite sure I understand that. Having said that, is Europe sensitive to Chinese adjusting interest rates? I don't know. Would Europe be happier with a Biden presidency versus a Trump presidency? I don't know. I would have thought they would have been unhappier. There must be something else going on that we're missing here today, but anyway, it is what it is. So, not overly impressed with the breadth. You got the Dow up a whopping 19 points. That's basically an unchanged day. I guess the one market that did surprise me a bit is the NASDAQ here up a better part of 1%. What's interesting about that, we were hanging out, of course, in the day trader room here this morning. Ed just killing it day trading. Man, that guy's a machine. I think he took about $600-700 from the market today. And actually, Craig also too. Casper, our CFU trader, man, he's just killing it in the with his CFU setup. Beautiful to watch these guys in action. I tell you, if you want to be a day trader, our little community is totally awesome. These two guys are absolute stalwarts. But the one thing that I did notice, sort of getting ready for the video here today, you notice that the NASDAQ in the US, here's the US, they were just booming higher here this morning. Now the question ultimately here is do we have one of these, funny ICT setups? So you see the rally, higher highs and higher lows. So I think this is one of his market structure levels, and you notice that on the break here we smashed through this low, closed below it, and you've got one of those fair value gap kind of concepts working here. I don't think he operates off of a 9-minute chart, but I think you can kind of get the idea of what we're seeing here. So if that's the case, and you can see I had drawn this when we were here, I guess we have to draw it now there. That means that theoretically Mountain Man here, and really that makes sense, right? It's just basically back up against this top of this sort of fair value gap kind of concept. Mountain Man here actually becomes a short. So I'll be watching for that. And really, I love these setups. They're so pretty. Really, I might argue that it'd just be anywhere in here. So right up against this top end of the range here. That does, if anybody is watching who is a day trader, keep your eyes peeled for opportunity there. Yeah, the crude oil market just absolutely collapsed this morning. Was able to get a cute little short off of this London failure last night. Market dumped into 4669s. I had moved my stop to that level on one contract, got liquidated there, and you can see I still got a runner on here. And if we get bullish structure here, and maybe that's what the NASDAQ sees, because actually I was a little surprised that NASDAQ usually is very, very sensitive to energy. So I was very surprised to see this snapback. Clearly, the tech stocks saw that and they didn't like what they saw. So anyway, I'll probably be flushed out of this crude trade here, the runner, shortly. So that was kind of interesting to see. And you can, sorry? Oh, I thought oh, 15 minutes. Geez, that went by quick, eh? Um, anyway, I hope you're enjoying the show here Monday morning. So you can see there is that NASDAQ failure. We actually came back down into its gap. Technically, there's settlement from Friday. We could just slide our way all the way down here. If that crude oil starts ratcheting back up and even going positive on the day, my hunch is this NASDAQ probably fades. Let's see, what else do we have on our agenda to speak about today? Obviously, good old Joe, Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe's probably going to get a little bit more excuse. I don't know whether excuse is the right word, but he's going to be able to sleep a little bit more here in the not too distant future. So, way to go, Joe. I don't know whether that's something to say way to go about, being a little tongue in cheek. But the scuttlebutt is that he is now going to, I guess, recede into the background. But lots of news about Miss Harris now basically stepping into the fore. I was a little surprised. I would have thought that Hillary would have raised her ugly head again, but if I understand correctly, and I did hear this from one of our day traders, does kind of make sense that the nomination was specifically for Biden-Harris ticket. And if they actually went and completely changed the nominee and the ticket, that a lot of the Democratic donors, those funds actually technically couldn't be used because they were specifically for that Biden-Harris ticket. Since Harris is technically just maybe moving up the rung, obviously there'll have to be a new vice president counter for her, but they can still use those funds. So I thought that was an interesting twist. One of our day traders had pointed that out this morning. So, and then also too, I think our sort of consensus was that it almost was like the Democrats are probably just going to concede defeat for this election. They want to put somebody up there that they're not really thinking is going to be president down the road. Kind of like just, you remember Kerry when he was going up against Bush Jr. That was kind of just a mailed in candidate. I don't think anybody actually expected him to win. Or when Bob Dole ran against, Jesus, was that Clinton? Was that long ago? God, I'm an old man. But also too, you remember when McCain ran against Obama for his second term, same sort of thing. I think it's just sort of a mail-in candidate. So that's the impression that I've gotten. If anything, the one person, and this is just my pure opinion, totally aside, but I think the one person that could actually have the balls to stand up to Trump and actually, like, when he starts going wrong and stuff like that, I think Michelle Obama would actually be able to stand up and give him a go and really like argue with him toe to toe. She'd probably walk over and punch him in the nose or something too. But anyway, I digress. My hunch is that Trump just walks back into office. And I have a feeling to a certain degree that actually you're even seeing headlines about that in the market, right? Stock market rotation of historic proportions is taking shape, where I think the market itself is actually pricing in Trump's win as we speak. One thing I did see though, and things might turn around very quickly. You never know in this crazy ass world. Don't write better fiction than reality. That's for damn sure. Or you can't write better fiction than reality. This is why I always tell all of you, don't get into the business of predicting the future. That's not our job. And frankly speaking, if you do go down that road of predicting the future, you're setting yourself up for failure because it's impossible to predict the future. Anyway, but I did see that Mr. Trump had a speech, I think it was yesterday, and he was mumbling some words and got off tangent and, just sort of typical old man stuff. Maybe I'll tell you about my trip down to the ice cream parlor. And then actually, I met this cute little puppy on the road and I started petting it. And then we were talking about how there were cracks on the sidewalks. And oh, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Our, just being stupid. But anyway, and actually, I even noticed in mine, because I'm in my 50s, I'm getting old. But I am noticing that my memory is starting to slip a little bit. I can see people from my past, and yet I can't remember their names, which is really shocking. But that's the way things go, I guess. Anyway, point is, I did see, and anybody on the left, anybody that's a Democrat supporter, woke, all that kind of nonsense. They were all over social media yesterday going, see, he's senile too. It's not just our guy. So, oh God, never a dull moment. So I would just definitely say don't count your chickens before they're hatched. November is still a long way away. I suppose turning our attention to crypto, I think it was kind of fun. Through the weekend, if you do like to play in SOL land, it's such a funny little space. So here's a funny little one that I have on the books, and I actually did a couple purchases on this thing. And keep in mind, the portfolio is very small, so I'm not going to be putting a ton of money on this. But look at the volume pouring in on this thing. And you can see where my sell half on a double order is after both of my purchases. So I'm going to see if I can bang out a double on this guy. But God, you love to see that kind of volume surge. That's just beautiful. And now you can see these big W's coming in. So that paints fog and bong targets all the way up top. I don't know where the hell this thing's going, but it's fun just to see that we're back in this kind of environment again where there's probably going to be some money to be made here. So I don't know whether it's SOLN that you're playing in or whether it's the little poop coins on the various different exchanges, but it does feel like it's a little bit friendlier of a environment. The only concern that I have, like if we look at our broad matrix, well, FYI, Sjord's back from his vacation now, so he should be on the daily brief tomorrow. He should give us a lot of updates. I have to figure out where things like this Noia, where he's actually getting quotes for it. I still don't really know where he's getting quotes for that, but I did notice that there were a couple names that are jumping around. That and RNDR, I think it's being reorganized. So anyway, we should have quite a nice update from Sjord. Also, too, anybody that participated in that deal that he did, I think it was SOV. I think he did post an update. They actually have got their, I don't know, roadmaps, white papers, all that kind of stuff. SOV, I think this is what it was called. So if you did participate in this deal that Sjord was able to get us in on, keep your eyes peeled. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some fireworks out of these guys in the not too distant future. So I'll tell you, I have said this repeatedly. I don't know whether Bitcoin's the place where you're going to make a fortune this cycle. I think on balance, just in the short term, I think the corn's run up into a pretty important resistance level. It is the reload zone of the entire range. We have hit our 2.618 of this W bottom that came in there a couple of weeks ago. And you can see how we banged up against this pretty significant trend line. So it doesn't really surprise me that we're seeing a bit of resistance come in here. And if anything, also, too, like I said, if crude oil is trying to bottom, and that was maybe some puke out low that we hit, maybe crude's going to start working its way back up. It wouldn't surprise me to see crypto take a bit of a pause in here along with the rest of the tech stock market. was also interested to see that the US dollar actually is trying to carve out some sort of inverted head and shoulders here. We have come down quite a bit. We did hit foggy boggies levels. We did take out liquidity pools, blah, blah, blah. You know how this game goes. It was really interesting megaphone level there. So not really a big surprise that we bounced, but it is interesting to see that momentum has actually turned up smartly to the upside. We're still not stupidly overbought yet, so I don't know how much legs this thing has. But you could argue that we're probably going to head right back into sort of, 50% rules and all that kind of fun stuff up top here. So interesting to see US dollar firming up. Yeah, another reason why I'm really surprised to see the European equity markets rallying the way that they are. And actually, the system today, of all things, actually gave a buy signal of the Swiss franc versus the euro, which is a bit of an odd signal. Anyway, you can see the crypto market here kind of rolling over, looking a little tired. If we look at the ETH sorts, they're still technically working. There's really nothing to do there. Stops at scratch. And like I said, I don't really want to move this stop. So I'm just going to leave that alone and let it work. Yesterday in the broiler chickens show, I had postulated that this looked like a diamond top to me. And I was going to be very curious to see how this played out following my adventure on the roads with Lily yesterday. And that went pretty well. So if anything, it was a good experience with him yesterday. So thank you all for your best wishes. I think it translated into a good afternoon for him. Still think actually, and I left these original lines on here because I didn't want to tinker with this, but I still think that we actually have a diamond working here. And what's interesting is we actually have a full-blown M here now in price. So I don't know whether that's the lowest low of our diamond, but if it is, then the diamond looks something like this. And keep in mind, the diamond doesn't have to look textbook. It can look sloppy like this. I would almost expect that we have a little bit of a lower low here, but it is interesting. Great analogy of candle body lows for trade location. Now that's a big tail right in there. So we banged right into that. Do we want to go and release those trap bears? Nope, screw them. And they bring the market back up a bit. Certainly not enough for me to get bullish here. And as I said, we're actually at a pretty significant resistance point. This is not a place that I should be hunting longs at all. If we look at the weekly chart, which was basically our focus from yesterday's broadcast, I still think that we're stuck in this triangle. And it is interesting to see how we banged up right against that trend line resistance. And now we're carving out some sort of inside bar here. So I guess back to this chart, I've been talking to you guys recently about how I've been noticing market seems to like to rally these like sort of 21-day windows and then into things like FOMC events and minute releases. And oh, what a surprise from this sort of panic dump low. 21 bars takes us into the next FOMC event window. So my hunch is that we're probably going to just do something along those lines, gyrate around here, and then on the FOMC event, we finally get our pullback. If we do correct in the short term, back down into Mountain Man levels, I actually think you could make the argument that that might actually be a really nice buy setup down there against the original structure, Mountain Man. You can think of things like ICT guy and his fair value gaps and all that kind of fun talk, like I was showing there on the NASDAQ intraday chart. So I mean, I'm not overly enamored with the market. If anything, I'm almost a little worried that this was a little bit too far too fast. Some of these names, I think I showed you, like the cripple name. Somebody even asked about this chart in the show yesterday, and I'd say, if you miss the trade, you miss the trade. You can't chase that. Trade's already gone. See you later. And if anything, I don't like it when these rallies happen this fast because we're probably going to have to work our way right back down. That's too far, too fast as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, market will do whatever the hell it wants. But there's no way I could do anything in the face of that. The trade's gone. And you see a lot of these, like look at ADA. We didn't even map this out, but it's basically the same story. I mean, there's the double bottom. You can see it as plain as day. Can I come in and do something here? No, I don't think so. If anything, you're kind of asking for trouble coming in there now. Maybe wait for this to develop out, three higher lows, blah, blah, blah. Start hunting a bot. But as it stands right now, there's nothing I can do there. Unfortunately, I'm kind of just sort of on pause. We did pick a couple pretty good names. Thank you very much, Chris, for helping me out to be able to do a little bit of activity in the broader crypto market. I was able to pick up a little bit of this spell recently, and that's treated us fairly nicely. I mean, I certainly don't have anything to complain about. Hit a high over the weekend of 78, and we picked this thing up at 52. So 50%, it's better than a kick in the pants. We might just crap out here, though. I mean, I certainly, again, I can't come in on the buy side there. Also, too, we picked up a bit of, what was that other one? BNT. I like this one because if anything, I'd like to just hold on to this thing and just forget about it. I really like that level. So we were able to sneak our way on a stink bid down here, and he's just grinding his way up. But again, I can't buy that. That's not a trade level that I can consider here. So what I'm basically telling people, and it was the same message that I said yesterday, is, if you got in off the bottoms, W's, if you work stink bids, then fucking hey, you're awesome. But even if you bought this W here, great, rock and roll. But if you miss that trade, then really the only thing that I can suggest people do at this point is just simply draw your reload zones. There's good old Mountain Man. There's lots of gaps to be filled in. But I could very easily see this have to work its way back down into reload zones. And that's when you can take a look at this again. Can't really look at it right there. You missed the trade. So that's sort of the state of the market right now. Too late to buy, and not a market I want to even think about shorting. I mean, why do I not want to think about shorting? I mean, just try and, there's the highs. Do I really want to come in on the short side here? Looking to try and sneak this kind of money from the market? I don't know. That's a tough one. And if I'm not mistaken, I mean, there's the old cycle highs. Do I really want to be shorting an asset that looks like that there? No. So anyway, there's your market summary for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Really, really good lesson for all of you. I was listening to a YouTube touter, and I went and picked up some of this at $2.50, and it was a couple hundred shares. And nanny nibble, little old lady, and this has turned into an absolute disaster. So Brian is never going to be right 100% of the time. I will always have my dogs and my losers. And there is a really good example of just a terrible, terrible pick. So that's just Brian just telling you straight up, I do not walk on water. I'm just a human, just like all of you. And this is why you have to be obsessive about risk management. If you little old lady this, then it's not really that big of a deal. If you margined or leverage trade this, you cannot ride that, because this fucking thing might just go into the ground. And it's such a good analogy of a trader's life. Anyway, I saw that out of the corner of my eye, and I don't want to shy away from my bad calls. Am I going to be right 100% of the time? Never. When I am right, I love to bang out doubles and get into those risk-free trades as fast as possible. And interestingly enough, if I'm right even 50% of the time, but the other 50%, this happens and it's a total dog. Ironically enough, as long as this thing still stays alive, well, technically I haven't lost. I'm actually still on paper up. But really, really good analogy that you're never going to be right 100% of the time. And sometimes you're losers. If you don't obsess about risk management, you actually can wind up blowing yourself up with one bad trade. Since this was appropriate risk management, and I don't really care too much about how bad is here in the short term because of the risk management strategy that I took, it's not really that big of a deal. But really good example that Brian is never going to be right 100% of the time. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Want to just fully acknowledge that dog of a pick. It is what it is. All right, I think I'll probably leave it at that for today, folks. As I said, pretty big slide there over the past week or two. So not a big surprise into options expiry. They had a pretty darn week. The day after options expiry, you got a bit of a sort of a vacuum. All the selling pressure is gone. And I might even argue that the stock market right now is trapped in a moving average sandwich. And this moving average sandwich, no way of knowing who's going to win this battle, but you can actually see from a candlestick perspective, a trade through that high will be a 3-bar fractal buy signal, which means we're probably going to rally right back up top. And of course, a move through that low is a continuation pattern. That means we're heading lower. So, I would just simply wait for the market to resolve the moving average sandwich before we make any great decisions about where we go next. All right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. That was Monday. We'll pop on over to the after party, maybe answer any questions. Level oneers would love for you to be nice and interactive here and take advantage of the resources that are at your disposal. And actually, really, level twoers, level threeers, everybody. That's why I do these videos, especially the after parties, so that you guys can ask all the questions you want and interact as much as possible. All right, everyone, have yourselves a great day. All the best, hugs and kisses. The only thing left to say is a hearty bye for now.